Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining us today at the UpSkill Virtual Academy for this live virtual instructor-led training on demystifying AI. So for some of you, this might be your first live online training, and for others, not. So whatever the case may be, like many other organisations, UpSkill Digital are now offering all of our trainings, all of our in-person trainings in a live virtual format. So to set expectations and get everyone on the same page, let's kick off with what actually does that mean? What is an LVILT, as they're known? So in other words, live virtual instructor-led training. So these are highly interactive, synchronous online classes with defined learning objectives, and they're always facilitated by a remote trainer like myself. So these trainings, they take place in an online environment, and obviously your participants can be geographically dispersed because, you know, we can reach everyone like we are today. Each individual participant is connected to and shares an interactive online learning space. So there's web classroom platforms, and by using that, you know, we can use tools to interact and increase learning. We can also have it so that the participants can simultaneously view the trainer via the shared online screen, and they can access shared files. So these are some of the learning interactions that you will expect during this one, obviously, and other live virtual instructor-led trainings. Okay, so let's lay out some ground rules first and introduce, you know, what's going on. So what we'd love today is if you could chat to us. You know, we're coming to you live. We have a moderator, so we have Lily, who will be able to converse with you in the chat room. I can't see the chat, unfortunately, but I have a document that Lily passes some of the things you say and also your questions over to me so that I can interact with you too. So we want you to ask questions and we want you to be engaged in our chat activities. And then at the end of the session, we're going to have a Q&A session. We'll leave time for that. So make sure that you pop those questions over so that we can have them ready when the Q&A starts. After the session, we really want your feedback. It's really important. You know, we're coming out to you live. So how's it going? How's it working? Because then we can, you know, creating content is an iterative process. So we'll send you a recap and a recording of this via email. And we're happy to answer any questions that couldn't be answered in the chat or the QA session today. If you want to learn more, we are offering many more free webinars over the next few weeks. So make sure you're signed up to our mailing list, and then you'll know what's coming. So first things first, let's practice using the chat. Okay, so little bit of fun, but if you could describe yourself using two descriptors. So what's your current mood? Okay, what's your current mood? And what you had for breakfast. So I would say my current mood is energized, and I had toast for breakfast. So I'm describing myself today as an energized toast. So have a go, pop that in the chat, and we'll just break the ice a little bit, and I get to know what you have for breakfast. So you may also be wondering who exactly are UpSkill Digital, and you know, why do they care so much about helping people deal with remote working challenges? Well, UpSkill are a digital training, education and transformation agency. So we provide tailored training programs on any topic for your workforce, and we're passionate about helping companies and people stay competitive in the digital age, which is obviously more important than ever now. We do this by empowering your people to adapt as roles change through the power of technology, by delivering engaging, fun, practical sessions that let your teams navigate the full spectrum of digital tools, and by making sure that people get hands-on, and then they can shift their mindsets to align with the digitally disrupted economic landscape. So also, where can we deliver? Well, the short answer is everywhere. We have around 200 digital experts located all over the world, so we can implement bespoke training for yourselves, or offer off-the-shelf training, and we can run in English, but also local languages. As I said, we have people all over the world. So upskill your business, no matter where you are, no matter what's going on. Yeah. Okay, so let's get cracking. What are we going to talk about today in particular? Okay, so what we're going to cover today is the AI landscape and how we fit into it. What does it mean to us? What's going on with it, and what can we do about it? Also, importantly, what is AI and what it isn't? And then AI in context. So how could you begin to use it? So I've just seen the chat. Before I start, I like, can I just say hello to Rice Krispies, Busy Porridge, Positive Veggie Sausage, Scrambled Egg, Tomato and Mushrooms, Hectic Toast. I know the Hectic one as well. Oh, that's brilliant. Yeah, keep coming, keep talking. Like I said, I get to see them. But I'm going to carry on with this now. So where are we? The landscape and where we fit in. So technology is changing society, and digitization is changing the way we live. These changes create conveniences and ways of problem solving that were never possible before. So we're living in an increasingly digital world, and automations play a big part of that. So the landscape of AI. So even though AI and machine learning have been around for decades, it can seem like it's a new phenomenon. Artificial intelligence, AI, it will increasingly disrupt what we do, who does it, and how all work is done. So the word disrupt, that might sound like a negative term, but ultimately the impact of artificial intelligence is going to change, everything. So by saying that, it's disrupting our lives, but not necessarily in a negative way. So from automating routine tasks to revolutionizing customer experiences, AI is expected to add significant growth and value to the world's economy for the organizations that can utilize it. Okay. Quote from Harvard for you. So we now live in the age of big data. Okay. An age in which we have the capacity to collect huge sums of information, too cumbersome for a person, a human to process. And the application of artificial intelligence in this regard has already been quite fruitful in several industries, such as technology, banking, marketing, entertainment. So big data and massive computing simply allow AI, artificial intelligence, to learn through brute force of greater capacity. Okay, so what does artificial intelligence mean to you? So this is really insightful for me and helpful for me if you can answer this question, and obviously helps Lily as well because she's communicating with you. Where do we fit into this? So in the chat room, if you can have a think about what does AI mean to you, and can you think of any instances where you're already using it? So perhaps you're using AI at work, perhaps you're using it at home. So if you can fire over some examples, then I know kind of where you're at. So I'll wait a couple of moments just while you get inspired and add your comments to the chat. I'll take this opportunity to have a sip of water. Okay, so there is a slight time lag between when I get to see the information coming from the chat. So I'm going to continue. Please keep adding your comments, and then hopefully I will be able to come back and see what you've written. So we can see, people have lots of ideas about what AI is, and a lot around what it actually isn't. So what is it exactly? So we're going to look at what is and what isn't AI. So this is taken from an article from Forbes, but the concept of what defines AI has changed over time. But at the core, there has always been the idea of building machines which are capable of thinking like humans. Okay, so machines that are capable of thinking like humans. Okay, first of all, what is it then, and what is it not? So automation plus learning equals AI. If there's something you can take away from today that will help, cement your knowledge in what artificial intelligence means, is automation plus learning equals AI. So robots automate things. You could get robots, even decades ago, robots in car manufacturing. But these days, the robots have the ability to learn and teach themselves. So it's old school automation, new school learning. Okay, so it's constantly about learning patterns and trends, and robots, for example, use this information to change direction in what they're doing, to improve situations, and also to flag potential errors and problems before they occur. So they're always learning. AI is also a really powerful tool to enrich business growth. Leaders can use their creativity where they can to make a difference by establishing, a new solution that they can influence. So this, combined with the knowledge of AI as a tool, can help enrich their business strategy and growth. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that in the upcoming slides. But one thing I want to say is, operationally, if you imagine managers spend a lot of their time on operations rather than actually being able to support and inspire their staff directly. So by using AI, it can take away a whole stream of operations that perhaps a manager doesn't need to do, so they can actually work with their workforce to improve services. Okay, so leveraging artificial intelligence means transforming key operational activities and day-to-day tasks. So, like I said, it frees up time, and it will do things like it will boost collaboration, which is going to be fantastic for innovation, and it helps form an ecosystem of common digital connections and practices. AI-enabled humans will be in charge. So what do we mean by that? So there is a fear that we see, that people feel that AI and robots are going to replace humans. But artificial intelligence, that doesn't mean that they're replacing humans. It's about empowering humans to solve problems and work and live smarter by using these systems that can think and process information a lot faster. And the cognitive systems that are used in AI can perform specific tasks, okay? And they become more intelligent through feedback loops. So we have these machines, we know that they want them to do something, and then they teach themselves through processes of feedback in their internal systems. Okay. However, entire jobs remain out of their scope. So, you know, what would be your thoughts on a police force that was made of robots, for example? You couldn't really have a robot that was a police person, because you know you need some kind of emotional, logical reasoning that comes from being human. So entire jobs remain beyond the scope of AI. If automation and outsourcing changed the labour landscape, upgraded AI enabled humans will be in charge. So that means, you know, if the workforce and the landscape change, it means that the workers and the jobs will actually be using AI. They will be enabled by using artificial intelligence. So let's talk about what AI is not. And it is not sentient. This means it has no feelings, okay? AI can identify patterns too subtle for human detection and generate insights better. It can make more informed decisions, but it doesn't explain why it offers particular recommendations. Sometimes it can seem to learn so much so quickly and relay this information in such a human way that it's hard to remember that AI is not sentient. You know, it seems real, it can feel real, but it isn't real, you know, not in the human perspective. AI is not perfect, okay? It can be fallible and subject to bias, especially those that pre-exist in humans that are creating the algorithms. So this can be hugely problematic when it comes to race, gender, ability, and it can only exist within the world defined by the data used to calibrate it in the first place. So we, as programmers, have our own internal biases that could be picked up in a machine. AI is not a magic wand, okay? Machine learning, AI, automation, all these words get bandied around like they're a magic wand that's going to fix a multitude of issues. And it fixes some of them, but this tends to discount the possibility of significant change. So machine learning must be decluttered, it must be monitored, it must be managed. Key one. It needs to be managed by responsible individuals that have data integrity. It has to have the correct data inputs. Like I said, you know, if you feed in biased information, you're going to get biased information output. So it needs to be considered what goes in to get the output as sufficient. And has to have adaptable algorithms. So AI needs to be diffused holistically within organizations and managed strategically by leadership. You know, this isn't something that should be managed by a data scientist. This is something that should be managed by leadership. And because of that, implementing AI, it requires a reassessment of leadership. You need to make sure that you have the right people who are informing a strategy for how you are going to use AI. Without transformation in this area, AI will never fully deliver and can actually be, it can be detrimental as well as costly. And the problems and dilemmas of business, they can't be solved by algorithms alone. You know, AI and machine learning, that is going to radically alter how work gets done by complementing and augmenting human behaviors. The final one that we want to say, AI is not self-sufficient. So for the foreseeable future, AI, you know, it's smart, but it still needs humans to set the right goals. So tell it what it's there for, and engage in creative interpretation. So it's important for leaders to broaden their contextual framework and apply a more holistic perspective. So you've got to think about the whole organization, and you know, AI is not something just for the tech department. It's valuable to adopt a multifold perspective and have the passion and drive to inspire and mobilize others. And AI can help leaders materialize an organization's vision, but without humans inputting into that, it's going to fail. Okay, so we need humans and not AI alone, and we need managers and leaders of AI. Don't just leave it to a tech department. Excuse me. Okay, so how AI and machine learning works. So AI learns from processing data, and basically you're feeding data into a machine and it is outputting something that you set as a goal for it to do. So say, for example, very, very basic example, you have a machine that you want it to recognize a picture of a dog. Okay, so you are going to train this machine to understand what a dog looks like. So you input into the machine, you know, thousands and thousands of images of what a dog looks like, and the machine starts to recognize certain features of a dog. Then we show the machine picture of a dog, and it says, yes, that's a dog. Okay, so this is very, very basic example. However, we then show the machine a picture of a wolf, and the machine says that's a picture of a dog. Okay, so what we then need to do is retrain that machine to understand that there are nuances that mean that that picture is a picture of a wolf and not a picture of a dog. So it's about feeding information into a system, finding out if the output is correct. If it's not correct, then the system needs to be readjusted, usually by human input. Now, you may have heard of deep learning as well. Deep learning is a further layer, and that's when machines start to teach themselves. Okay, so what are the different types of AI and machine learning, and how do they support business needs? So we're going to look at AI in context. We're going to have a look at some case studies of AI solutions that are being deployed at the moment, and you know how they're solving current business problems. Okay, so the three trends that artificial intelligence will accelerate in our society are increasingly capable systems. So we're going to see increasingly capable systems. AI can now mimic human speech. It can translate languages. It can diagnose cancers. It can create legal documents. It even plays games, and it can beat us. I think it's the game Go. I know you can correct me if I'm wrong in the chat. So systems powered by AI can now accomplish tasks we didn't believe was possible ever before. And these capabilities will continue to expand. So that's our increasingly capable systems. Also, that systems will become more ubiquitous. And by that, I mean, we will just be surrounded by them. You know, they will be everywhere. So technology will be dispersed in homes, as smart homes. It will be around us as objects and artifacts that we never really thought of previously. I mean, who thought that, in our homes we'd have heating systems that can adjust themselves, or perhaps something like an Alexa that you can just speak to and it will respond back to you. I mean, Alexa can make phone calls for you. So who would have thought these things would happen? So I started Alexa by saying that. Sorry, everyone. So systems will become more ubiquitous. The line between offline and online, real space and cyberspace, is one that will become less important and less meaningful as time goes on. So systems are becoming more capable and more integrated in the world around us. Now, that quote comes from Leonard Susskind. It's also going to give us an increasingly quantified society. So everything we do generates data. And this means that data can be captured, it could be sorted, and then it can be used to improve tasks. Data is a neutral source, and it's how it's used that is important. The way we use it is what turns data into information. So those who control it and own the most powerful digital systems in the future will increasingly have great control over those who use it. So the more data that is gathered about us, the easier it is for others to persuade and influence us. So it's important to be aware that data is being gathered about us from our interactions with AI and technology as a rule. Okay, so AI and context. How can we begin to use it? So here we have a few examples. I'm just going to give you a top level run over what they are. This is NIO Technologies. Basically, they struggled with getting workforce, a labour force in the agricultural industry. So they came up with some machines that actually do the weeding for the farmer. So these machines are able to not run anything over, and also recognise the difference between a weed and, say, for example, a lettuce. So that just blows my mind. I think it's amazing. We've got Active. So these are all about automating vehicle services. This is quite often a hot topic of discussion. Should people be having self-driving cars? That's something we can talk about in the Q&A if you fancy. Chat, in the chat room. Just keep communicating. Okay, then we have another example of analytics. So this is in the medical industry. It helps streamline radiology diagnosis. So basically, there is a huge amount of misdiagnoses in the medical industry. People can be diagnosed as incorrectly. So they may have be told that they've got an illness that they haven't got, or they've been told that they haven't got an illness that they do have. So you can see how crucial it is for products like this that will save many, many, many lives. Whole Foods. So these guys used Facebook Messenger bots to connect with products and recipes. So they even got to a point, I'm not sure it exists anymore because I think they were bought out by Amazon. So I'm not sure if Amazon's kind of, taken them off doing this. But you used to be able to type in an emoji, so tomato, and it would bring up loads of recipes based on tomatoes. And also you could use it normally and type in specific keywords. So how do we go about implementing AI? So we've got identify, determine, link, and connect. So we need to identify all the business functions that need machine learning or data science. So what parts of our business, in terms of functionality, need machine learning? We need to determine the high-level data needs of those business functions. We need to link the metrics and look at the relationships between all those items. I mean, you'll immediately see where areas of overlap exist in reporting and data needs. And then once you document these relationships in a systematic and networked fashion, you can go bottom up and start connecting the right data sources and relevant applications with those needs. So again, business, strategy, AI, leaders, it's crucial. Okay, so how can AI help you? This would be fantastic if you could pop in the chat as well. Also, I'm starting to come towards the end, so if you have your questions for the Q&A, that would be great, and then Lily will pop them over for me. But if you wanted to adopt more AI into your business operations, this would be a great place to start. We've made it very simple. Number one, where could AI be applied in your role? Two, what does it do? What is it for? Three, who will it affect? Four, how will it benefit overall? You will, as we said, be sent this video or a link to the video. So come back and use this as an exercise. But it would be great if you could have a think on this just now. So how do you think, especially having watched this presentation, that AI will enhance your role or your team role in your organization? Okay, so just have a moment. Yeah, so Suzanne said, not aware of currently using it. Donatus has said to make sense of data and automation, but think, what are things that could be done? Perhaps, big invoicing systems, operations in your company. What if someone wants a cup of tea? You've got a whole team of 100 people. They all want a cup of tea. Could you have some, artificial intelligence that just sorts that out? And it would take hundreds and hundreds of man hours out of a year of people going to make cups of tea. Bit of a silly example, but, be creative with it. That would save you money. Well, depending on how much the AI was. Okay, I'm going to move on. So please stay around for Q&As. Please, please, please put some questions in. We want to talk to you. That's why we're live. That's why we're involved. So thank you for joining today's session. It's been a really quick dive, really quick. I know this is obviously a massive subject. We have, squished it down for you. So it's a huge and fascinating topic. There's so much more to learn. Go and look at some really ways that people have used it creatively. It's just fun to watch. I've loved talking to you about it. If you'd like to learn more, we run a full intro to AI and AI for leadership. Remember what I said about how important it is to know how to manage AI. So we run these courses, so make sure you check out the UpSkill Digital website for more information. We would love your feedback today if you would very kindly do that for us. Here is the URL on the screen, and Lily's going to pop it into the chat for you as well. Once you've opened the link, you can ask any questions that you might have as well. Thank you very much. So keep your eyes peeled on our socials for upcoming free sessions and our website for all of our offerings, for all of our courses. We have a variety of interactive, virtual, immersive and e-learning options. So there's truly something for everyone, So take this knowledge, run with it, get inspired. Okay, so I am going to say thank you, and then hopefully we'll get some questions in. Okay, so the first question, so thank you for putting some in. So we have, what's the difference between AI and ML? So AI is artificial intelligence. ML is machine learning. Machine learning is like the input, if you like. You need machine learning to have artificial intelligence. So we may say, I don't want to say her name again, the A word voice thing that's over in my corner, or let's say Google Assistant instead of the Amazon one. That's an example of a piece of artificial intelligence. To get that to work and to get that in place, it involves machine learning. So machine learning is kind of the system, and artificial intelligence is what we call it, and what the output is. Something like a voice assistant is also as another level of machine learning, a deeper level of machine learning called deep learning. So, and that's the ones that train themselves. So voice assistants will train themselves, for example, to your accent, to your needs. I know the voice assistant I have, you know, when my kids squabble over getting it to do something, the 12-year-old always seems to win. So I think she favours him. I hope that answers your question. If not, please, pop in the chat some more, and then I can clarify for you. Okay, what would you say are common misconceptions about AI? I love this question because common misconceptions are things like it's perfect. Common misconceptions are that it's going to take over the world and take over jobs. And there's also common misconceptions where people think we can't trust it. And so the example I love is the autonomous vehicles and the thought of cars driving themselves. As I said, this normally kicks off a whole load of chat. What are your thoughts on self-driving cars? Personally, it feels really uncomfortable, but actually when you break it down and think about it, this is a vehicle. So when we are driving our vehicles, right, we are looking forward with our eyes. We're looking, perhaps a bit sideways with our peripheral vision. We can look in our mirrors and maybe a dash cam to see what's going on behind us. But these are the only ways we can see. With a self-driving car, they have cameras all over them, so they can see everywhere. We can't. So they have that ability already. They also have super fast sensors that can sense movement. They can recognize things like a lamppost. Imagine that it can anticipate a child running into the road before that child actually does, because it can sense it or it can feel the heat. In their reaction speeds are going to be a lot better than us. And it does recognize other cars on the road, so it knows where the road space is, it knows how far to stay away, all these kind of things. So it's an amazing story, but I think because we're so used to being in control of cars, it just feels very, very strange. Okay, I'm just going to hang here for a couple of minutes to see if there's any more questions. Okay, well, as said, please fill out the feedback form. Lily, hopefully she's put it in the chat, or we'll put it in the chat, and that will give you another opportunity to ask questions, because perhaps you don't want to ask a question on a public forum, which I understand too. Okay, thank you very much for coming. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you, Lily, for being an amazing moderator too. And I'm going to leave you here. Have a great afternoon. Thank you, everyone.